Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Cory Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, everyone.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. As always, the show is sponsored by Restore FX, your paintless clear coat repair experts. And today we have a special guest on the show. His name is Alex, and he is here representing MTRX. If you're in the PDR business, you have heard of that. If you're not, you're in for a treat. He has a extensive background in small business marketing and joined MTRX in 2019. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how MTRX started, where it is now, a little bit maybe if he'll tell us what's going on in the future, and then how this invoicing software can help make you more money. What's up, Alex? Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, man. So after we started our podcast, you just told us a little bit, man. You came from small business marketing and came into MTRX, had no idea what paintless dent repair was. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, so my background revolves in helping small business owners kind of go to the next level, right? So I worked before my MTRX career. I talked to any small business owner, and this is typically people from trade school. You're talking plumbers, HVAC contractors, roofers, attorneys, doesn't matter. And essentially my job was to reach out to them and help them get clients, and not only that, manage their clients and become a successful business owner, because they're typically great at a craft, but becoming a business owner is something entirely different. When I got the call from Eric, he was actually looking for some help marketing his brainchild, right, which is MTRX, and getting at the forefront and selling the software. When he first called me and he said, yeah, it's an app for PDR, in my head, I was like, okay, PDR, what's that acronym? What's that acronym? I need to know this. And I honestly, I told him, hey, Eric, I have no idea what PDR is. Can you show me? And not only did he show me, he actually took me to shadow. Before I even took the application, he took me to shadow some PDR techs. I saw them pushing dents, and I thought, wow, I had a lot of dents in my car, so I parked in the back. I don't want them to see my car. But it was definitely not culture shock, but a shock to see how much work gets put in the back of a dealership, right? These are the unsung heroes that make that car that you buy, that you feel so comfortable in, that you feel like the man in. They're the ones that brought it to life, right? And that's kind of where I started my career.
That's awesome. Ryan and I were just talking beforehand, and I think both of us beat you to MTRX by like 5 years. So, which is great. Well, so I've interviewed Eric on the podcast previously. If you want to go back through the feed, I've interviewed him actually right about when they got purchased from Repairify. Technically, I guess is the parent, the biggest company. Okay. So if you guys want to hear from Eric directly, you can talk to him there. But I started, I think I made my first invoices like early 2015. So I'd love to hear from you. Just a real quick, like, kind of background, maybe stuff that Eric has shared to you over the years about how, like, that idea came to be born about creating an invoicing software for us PDR techs.
Yeah. And that was one of my first questions, right? Why the software? Every software needs a purpose. If not, it's really not a tool, it's an accessory. And what Eric was able to tell me, he kind of guided me through his problems. So back in 2014, Eric was very much to the PDR tech, focused primarily in wholesale. And Eric probably gets into the podcast and be like, Alex, but Eric has chicken scratch handwriting. It probably is one of the worst handwritings I've ever seen in my life. So one of the problems that he had, and it happened quite often, was he'd be at a dealership and he goes, you don't know how much money I've lost or how much time I've lost because my 8s look like B's, my A's look like 4s. I was like, well, to be honest, Eric, everything looks like hieroglyphics, but okay, yeah, let's go with just your A's and your B's, right? And he would tell me the process of that. He goes, hey, and honestly, there's some days where I'd walk around with a stack of carbon copy papers, and he'd have to write down the invoice. If there was a mistake, throw it and get a new one. He'd be writing invoices on the surface of vehicles, and he'd tell me, hey, touch that vehicle. I touched the vehicle at noon in Texas. It's a pretty hot cars. So he goes like, man, it was just an inconvenience to carry all this around. He's a smart guy, economics major, and he's very, very tech savvy. So he came up with MobileTech first to make his life easier. He said, I wanted a software to help me build my clients, but every software he saw out there was not tailored to PDR. It was a generic QuickBooks or, a Square, something. And so he wanted to develop something that was specifically for his business, which at that time was strictly wholesale PDR. He'd also tell me about the times where dealerships would call him and they would lose an invoice. So they would lose an invoice. He would find out a month later that he never got paid for a vehicle. He'd have to go sort through his carbon copies, go and run and take that to the dealership. And there were so many inconveniences that were part of his daily process that at that point in time, he just thought, this is the way it is. This is the industry. Eric then thought of the brainchild. So in 2014, him and Damian Simmons, which is another PDR tech that he was partnered with, came up with the brainchild of MobileTech RX and the idea of a software. It wasn't until 2015 that they sat down with Albert, who was our CTO at the time, and said, here's your idea. Can you build it? Albert went and built the first iteration of MobileTech RX, which I'm sure looks like you guys actually used.
Yeah, we did.
So he took it to MTE, and he was like, man, I took it to MTE, and there was a line of people saying, hey, what is that? And that's kind of when MobileTech RX took off, right? It was primarily a PDR software, the first of its kind specifically for PDR. And then in 2017, Eric was like, hey, if we're really going to do this right, that's when he fully retired from doing PDR work and went full into being the CEO of MobileTech RX.
Oh man, I just want to point something out for those that have listened to me for the last couple of years. I've coached other businesses, so I kind of relate to you. You were small business marketing, but anyways, I always point out these things, and I just wanted to say something real quick. In the very beginning of that sentence, you pointed out that he may have the worst handwriting ever. First of all, I'll put my handwriting up against his. Next MTE, we're gonna see what's up with that. But a lot of times, your biggest downside or the biggest thing that frustrates you most about yourself can actually become your greatest asset, and that's exactly what happened with Eric. And so I just want to point that out. Just because you struggle with something or something's difficult for you doesn't mean that it can't become your greatest asset. Because if you struggle with it, I would say millions of other people, but in our specific industry, thousands of other people struggle with the same thing, because that was the exact problem that I had. Carbon copies, I was writing stuff, triple form. We would keep a copy, would give a copy to the dealership. You couldn't track it. Once I let go of that little paper, it was like I had a carbon copy. That was it. Couldn't even read it. After a year, it was faded anyways. So he solved that for me and for himself. And Ryan, how's your handwriting?
My handwriting is actually pretty good, dude. So I can't complain about that. But all my employees, it was really bad. So I feel like every dent guy was running through the same problem with terrible handwriting, whether it was them or the technicians. So I got really lucky and didn't even get to run through an entire order of carbon copies before MobileTech came out. And the biggest thing it did for me was not only keep me super organized, but it made me look more professional to the dealerships. So it worked out. I still tell people to this day, I've been a dent tech for a pretty long time, and I still have yet to write a hail estimate on a paper matrix.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. So for the longest time, people that are curious, because we're going to talk about transitioning over into MobileTech RX, if you haven't, how it kind of works with QuickBooks and other softwares. But when I started MobileTech RX, my dad started Dent Pro, the company that I own now, in 1991. So originally it was just, I don't even know, some sort of printed out version of an invoice. There was no, I don't know what he did. Maybe he just hand wrote them on a piece of paper. I don't even know. But when I was there, it was like carbon copied, all that stuff. For a long time, we actually used MobileTech RX to write estimates, but then wrote all of our invoices as paper on the back end still, because MobileTech RX didn't do everything that we wanted it to do at the time. And so we're like, all right, well, it makes us look really, really good. But we still track everything paper on the back end. Now we're exclusively 100% paperless company, which in California is a catchy phrase. Maybe other parts of the country too, but well, people are like, "Oh, could you have a paper copy?" I'm like, "No, we're paperless." Oh, But anyway, so we went completely onto just the MobileTech RX app. And like you said, Ryan, professionalism, organization, everything has been changed significantly. And now it integrates really well with QuickBooks Online. Alex, do you have any knowledge on that at all, that you could speak to those types of integrations?
Yeah, so we integrate directly with the QuickBooks Online. So people know and love QuickBooks, which it's a software that is pretty well known that a lot of people use. It has a low barrier of entry. With MobileTech it's literally the press of 2 buttons. You can sync all your invoices from MobileTech to QuickBooks. Just because I like to tell people with MobileTech we're a business management solution. That's everything from invoicing, CRM capabilities, some text message marketing, and we do some accounting. However, we're not meant to be a direct supplement for an actual accounting software. There's so much that QuickBooks does when at the end of the year, when the tax man comes calling, you're going to want to have what QuickBooks does, which is why we definitely have an open API with them, and it makes it seamless. And that's QuickBooks Desktop and online too. So whichever one that you use, we can support it.
And so I'll ask you a question. I try my best to think of what the potential listeners are thinking to ask you. Why would I have MobileTech and not just QuickBooks and just send invoices through QuickBooks? Like, why would I have both?
Because MobileTech does a lot more than what QuickBooks does, right? QuickBooks, you can write up an invoice and you can keep track of your accounting. MobileTech, especially if you're in PDR, right? So just so you guys know, we do much more than just PDR now. But for PDR specifically, we gave people the ability to estimate a lot higher, right? So one thing Eric did educate me on is when I first started, I'd go get I had a beat up 06 Corolla back at that time, and I had dents galore. Never fixed it. So for fun, I was like, hey, let me take it to some dent guys. And I took it to some dent guys right here in Austin, Texas, and they would go to my car and they'd kind of like do this. They like squint their eyes, rub their chin, kind of like you are right now. They'd rub their chin and say, hey, Alex, that's gonna be $200. And I didn't know what PDR was, right? So what happened is I'm left asking them, why is it $200? Well, I'm almost sticker shocked, right? With MobileTech with what we call our price dent matrix or our price dent estimating software, they can take the app, put the dent size and the depth, and it'll show out a price, which is 9 times out of 10 higher than they would have charged off the top of their head. Not only that, for a client like me and pretty much any millennial client, you'd be surprised, guys, when you're doing something on an app, it's almost like the app is law, right? You're going to get way less pushback doing it on the app than quoting off the top of your head. So we almost bring that credibility and that professional image that a lot of PDR guys overlook. And that was one of our first calling cards. It's like, hey, you're not just a technician now. Let's give you that business professional image that is so coveted by the regular consumer to help you get more money from whether it's wholesale, whether help you win more accounts using our wholesale estimating and showing them their invoices, or getting more from your retail clients, which a lot of PDR techs, they want to go into retail, but they're always concerned about how am I going to get clients? How am I going to retain them? MobileTech allows you to retain retail clients because you're keeping all your clients in MobileTech names, phone numbers, information, birthdays, you name it. We have text message reminders that can be sent out to them. These are things that QuickBooks just can't do, nor would you want it to do. And if you were to compare MobileTech invoices to QuickBooks invoices, I wouldn't have to talk anymore. I would just show people those two things.
Yeah.
And they'll see why people come to MobileTech.
Yep. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Being a user of MobileTech for sure. Like you said, QuickBooks accounting, because at the end of the year or whenever your accounting time happens, you can click a couple buttons and send your accountant all that information. But when it comes to day-to-day invoicing, professionalism, pricing, all that stuff, not just for PDR, but for all the automotive reconditioning services, that's why I think MobileTech is a winner. I pulled up the app real quick, and I just gonna read off some of the services that you guys offer. But okay, so I forgot my train of thought, but here we go. So we go Pavas day repair, removing and installation, paint and body, interior, detailing, PPF, wheels, glass, tint, and a section for miscellaneous. So I remember what I was going to say now. At the Masters of Recon podcast, what Ryan and I are trying to do is just expand outside of just the paintless day repair space and get more listeners, attract more listeners in all of the automotive reconditioning spaces. A lot of these being very minor industries or smaller industries that don't have dedicated podcasts. So we want to be the podcast where everybody can come. That's why you guys are on, because this is a software that has expanded as we've expanded into other services. Ryan, do you want to talk about that? How how basically, you and I both being PDR techs are now adding additional services to our businesses, and mobile just plays right into that.
Yeah, so one thing I liked, touch base on that, was how Mobile Tech RX started in the beginning, where it was just paintless tint repair. And the main thing that I think set them apart from other companies, like, I think they had Ding Stinger and some other companies like that, they listened to the technicians and they really pushed to keep the thing growing. They didn't just keep it the same, right? So that's what moved on to everything we talked about at the Mobile Tech Expos. These guys listened, Eric listened, and they adapted to what we needed. So that just made it a lot easier for us to add services to our business, because if you go into a business of owning just paintless tint repair, just doing a detail business, and you have to start coming up with a POS system that's going to start to charge customers and look professional, it's all over the place. I mean, we've tried it. We've tried using Stripe, some of those other companies, and it just didn't mesh well. So for me to add a service on now, I don't even think about how I'm going to invoice, how I'm going to keep customer information. We just go ahead and just add it, and whatever it takes from there, we're adding any other service. Just good.
Yeah, and totally agree. So now, Ryan and I both start with paintless tint repair. I know, Ryan, you've done every kind of service done over the years, but right now, obviously Restore FX being a sponsor of the podcast, we're both using Restore FX underneath the detail section in Mobile Tech RX, which in my opinion works fantastic. You can create packages in there, one-off charges. I line out to work very well with. And now actually this week we added touch up to our business, and I know Ryan and I, at the time this podcast comes out, the other podcast with Glass World Company will come out too, and Ryan and I are both considering adding glass chip repair to our business as well, which is already built into the Mobile Tech RX app as well. So if you want to look at a car and do some PDR, do a little touch up on it, some buff a panel, and fix a glass chip, it's all on one invoice. I don't think there's another system that does that.
No.
Yeah, no, there really isn't. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Ryan.
No, you're good.
Okay. So one thing that we emphasize a lot of Mobile Tech RX is, at the end of the day, we want to do one of two things for our clients. If we can do both, we'll do both. But we want to make you more money and or save you time. If we're not doing either one of those two things, then we're failing as a company. Service diversity is the easiest and probably most effective way for anybody to increase the amount of income that they're seeing. If you're a PDR tech, unfortunately, if you are a PDR tech, recurring clients probably aren't a big source of your business, right? I love my PDR tech. I hope I never see him this year. I don't want to get into debt on my car. And that's just being fair. But if you're a PDR tech that now offers detail, paint touch-up, I'm more likely to go back to you for repeat service. Now, one vehicle, you're doing 3 or 4 different services on. By adding just one service, whether it be glass, paint, tint, you can increase your business revenue by 30%, right? It's about going in there and adding those services, which, like Ryan said, a lot of people, when you want to add a service, there's all these questions that come into your head as a business owner. One, who can do the service? How do I do the service? Third, how do I bill the service? We can at least answer that one for you and make it very easy. We don't have to worry about that at all. We can help you build it. We can help you estimate it. Now you just worry about either finding somebody that can do it or doing it yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think you said it, or maybe I just wrote it down. The competitive advantage, honestly, in 2022, in a world where if we're at a point now, if you don't have a website or social media page, you basically don't exist as a business. So to preempt what I'm about to say. So if you have a web page and you did that, because if you're in business, you have one, and you have a social media page and you post it there, that's great. And then someone comes to your business and you write them a carbon copy version of an invoice. At this point, I feel like there's a big disconnect. The customers that you're attracting through the online sources, and then they're getting this old carbon copy paper email. It's just like, do I really want you to work on my brand new high-end Tesla electronic car? Like, I know it might sound weird, but literally the competitive advantage for you, if you're in an area with 12 detailers that all are charging the same price, like, be the one that looks the most professional. Like wear the hat, wear the shirt, put a logo on your truck, and get invoicing software that has a branded logo with exactly broken down everything that you just provided for them. And in my opinion, it goes a long way in having that customer tell other people about your business, because they're like, man, that was easy. I found them online, put in a request, I did this, they emailed the invoice, took payment right then, and it was like, boom, like, swipe to buy now on Amazon, on Amazon, like swipe to buy now. Like, we want it to be easy, painless, simple. We want it to be simple for people to pay us, right? And so I just want to put
I've gotten reviews from customers. I've gotten reviews from customers that have talked about how easy it was to do business with us, and mobile tech definitely was part of that, because it went from the estimating all the way down to the payment. I didn't see these people at all. Just, one of my repair technicians repaired the vehicle, and then she loved the ease of doing business with us. And I think that that's one thing that needs to be addressed, which was awesome.
For sure.
I think communication, right, the transparency, those are two huge things to getting any client in any industry. But perception is huge too. How do your clients or prospective clients perceive you as a business? If you don't have a social media, if you don't have a website in today's day and age, they're not going to be able to find you online. If they're not able to find you online, then they're probably not going to pick up the phone and call you. If you have an online presence, you want to make sure that presence is as professional as the work that you do, which a lot of people would just escapes them. They're so focused on making that car look brand new and making that car look perfect. They're not really concerned about their business perception. Mobile TechRX helps you take care of both without having to worry too much about your business perception, because it's so easy to use, right? Using Mobile TechRX, your business perception grows tenfold coming from Carbon Copy or any other software that might be out there.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100%. At what point did Mobile TechRX decide to? I forget what you said earlier. I'm calling it multiple services, but you said it in a better way, a more professional way earlier. But at what point did Mobile TechRX decide that they were going to expand to like basically all automotive reconditioning?
Yeah, so service diversity has been something that we've
talked about diversity.
We've talked about it internally for a while. So even when I came aboard on 2019, we already had PDR, wheels, paint and body, and R&I. We had everything that lived in the back of a dealership, only because when Eric was using it back for his own PDR company at the back of a dealership, the wheel guy would say, hey, what are you using, right? So then he's like, oh, this is what I'm using. I was like, oh, we need something like that for us. So Eric had already gone in there and done pretty much every wholesale service. We had those 4. We really didn't market to them too much. We were still primarily a PDR app. It wasn't until 2019, pre-COVID, that we're like, hey, we're going to add everything. We're going to add detail, which is probably the biggest demographic in terms of detailers in the nation, right? There's probably 10 times more detailers than there are PDR techs. So there was detail, PPF and vinyl, glass, and tint that we decided, hey, we're going to add all these in one go. Glass and tint came first. Those came around 2018. Detail, since it's such a big demographic, we definitely wanted to, do some market analysis. So for about a year and a half, we did market analysis. We talked to detailers across the nation, and we asked them what they needed. It wasn't until 2020, March of 2020, pre-COVID, that the detail/PPF modules launched. Probably the worst time to launch a new app, right? So we launched it, and obviously the world kind of stopped running for a bit. So we used that time during COVID to say, hey, get a 60-day free trial and just let us know what you think of the detail app. And we got a lot of constructive criticism. And the detail module has changed tenfold since we first launched it. And now I feel like it's finally there. And now that we have all these modules that we've worked on, we kind of decided, hey, a lot of our service diversity was something that we decided to do. Something our user base was like, hey, I noticed that you added glass. I noticed that you added this. And it got their brains turning. Hey, I wonder if I could do that too. I heard the podcast with Matt Moore. Matt Moore is a living testament to this, right? Matt Moore would literally say, hey, like I was a PDR tech for the longest time. It wasn't until Mobile TechRX saw that they were offering all these other services that he goes, hey, why don't I do it as well? So when we saw a lot of users basically calling in and asking us questions on how to do X, Y, and Z, we felt like, hey, maybe we should educate them and help them use every single module that we have available for them. And since 2020, that's kind of been our biggest initiative, is to increase the service diversity for our user base.
Killer. I love it. And you drop Matt Moore. I know he does some ads for you guys. We actually recently had him on the podcast 3 or 4 episodes ago. It's definitely somebody to look up to in the space of adding multiple services in one shop. Mm-hmm. You kind of, I didn't have this written down, but you kind of reminded me of this, and maybe Ryan, you can speak to it a little bit too. But you said you got some constructive criticism. Any company that's going to come into an industry and completely change it, in my opinion, completely change the way that I looked at myself as a business owner, portrayed myself as a business owner to my customers, completely changed. Anybody that does that, there's a bunch of people that are going to talk a bunch of shit. Always. And I've seen it since 2015. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't fast enough. It didn't have this. It didn't have that. And still, I love the app, but there's still people weekly, monthly, whatever, that go on online forums and say, why isn't this, why aren't you doing this for me or whatever? So how do you guys deal with that internally, just as a curiosity question?
Yeah, no, so we actually, everything goes through a vetting process. So we do take user requests very, very seriously, more so than any other company I've been in. Every time a user calls in to either give a feature request, hey, this would be a nice to have, or complaint, say, hey, I hate this because you don't have this. We take that into account. We put that into another software that we have, and it gets one vote. Whenever we hear that one again, it's another vote, another vote, and another vote. Our dev team strategically plans our road mapping. So we have our roadmap pretty much built out for the end of the year. What features we're going to do. Based on the upvotes, that increases the likelihood that we throw it into said roadmap. But some requests might take longer, right? And everybody's world, and I fall victim of this. Like, I think, hey, this can't be hard to do. Change this and change this. Then my CTO, he'd be like, Alex, like, it's not that easy. So I had to educate myself on the complexities of changing an app, especially when there's this app. There's around 6,000 people that use the app on a daily basis. You make one change for one person, it's not feasible because then somebody else complains because they didn't want that change. So we need to make sure that these changes are calculated and coordinated. But to touch base on when we launched the detail app in 2020, that caused almost a complete redesign of Mobile Tech RX, because PDR techs, like I said, there's really no recurring clients. PDR techs live off a work order, right? Get the job, create a work order, invoice a client, they're out of there. They're more work order focused. When we launched the app, we're talking to detailers are very more client centric, right? So a detailer, they don't really know much about the vehicle, but they know when Cory comes back, he has these 3 vehicles. So one of the biggest changes we did to appease detailers was create a client garage. Right, the client garage, I don't know a PDR tech that might even take advantage of that feature in the app, because the odds are you're never going to see that client again or that vehicle again. For a detailer, you're able to save 10 vehicles into one client's garage and able to duplicate a past invoice just like this by pressing the button that says duplicate, because oftentimes they come back for the repeat maintenance wash. So for a detailer, the biggest pain point was they had to go and rewrite it up over and over again when the client came back. They had to scan the VIN again, write up the vehicle. So what we did is we created a client garage specifically for anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And nice. That was an example of some of the changes that we made for detailers or PPF, anybody that has recurring clients.
That's a good idea.
It's genius.
Yeah, like I know, every month or every 2 weeks they go detail that guy's car. Is there a place that we can email or message or somebody or just support at Mobile Tech RX or whatever, these ideas that we have that can be voted, that can go into the voting system so that we don't have to go to Facebook and try to get attention from you guys? Not that I've ever done that, but
so definitely if you message support at mobiletechrx.com with the title feature request, that goes directly to our support team, which I'm not saying this just because I work with Mobile Tech RX. Our support team is the best support team I've ever worked with for any software company. When you text or call that 888 number, you talk to a real person. You can text that 888 number your feature request as well, or email support. That's going to go to our support team, and then from there, it'll go directly into what we call our product board. So we definitely take every feature request seriously, no matter how big or small.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a better way to go. So if you're listening, you got an issue, just doesn't mean it's going to get done, but the more people that send that email, the more likely it is to get done. I remember in 2015 calling the line on Mobile Tech RX and talking directly to Damien and telling him, hey, it'd be cool if you guys did this stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. Thankfully, they grew it to a bigger company and they're hiring people, but yeah, I definitely recommend that. I think last time I talked to Eric a while back, he was like, dude, if we added everything that we wanted to add, it would take the next 5 or 10 years to do everything we wanted to do in the app. And so all this stuff just takes a bunch of time. And so like, I think as just human nature, we forget how amazing it is to have something like this for like $100 a month or whatever as a solo person. In order to build an app like this, in my opinion, from people that I know, we're talking like millions, I'm guessing at this point, of dollars put into development on that, and then we get to use it for $100 a month. Like,
right?
I feel if you're gonna go post a rant on Facebook, maybe just think about that for just a quick second, and just put it in a little bit of perspective. That's something I can say, being as a user, and something that maybe Alex or Eric might not want to say to their user base, but I'm happy to say it, because when I think that, I'm like, dude, you guys are like, come on now, like go use the other one then. Like, you haven't yet. I don't know what to say. And the last time I wanted to make a change, I called Eric and talked to him directly, and I'm like, it seems like everything's so easy. Like, we live in a world where it's like, when an app company does a good job making an app user friendly, it seems like it's so easy to change it also, but it's not. Like, Eric's told me, he's like, dude, there's so much, like, every time you touch one thing inside the development of an app, it's can completely fuck up everything else, and you don't even know it until you make it live, and then people start complaining.
Yeah, and then people are more angry than they were before, because we tried to put out a fix and we actually made it worse, and then now they have a right to be angry, which is the worst, which we never want to give them a reason to be angry. But to that point, also, Eric's not lying. If we had Eric is a smart guy, and you got to understand, he is very much PDR tech through and through. He loves the industry, he loves going MTE, he loves talking to everybody, and he still thinks like a PDR tech. So he'll come up to me and he'll say, I have this idea, and it'll be an idea for a feature request that I wonder if this is going to get any traction. And he has probably hundreds of ideas that he has on a notepad saying, I would like to do this eventually. Luckily, we have our CTO, Garrett, who is our voice of reason, saying, hey, that's going to take a lot of time. We might not need that yet, but we do have ideas in the background that we can't wait to hopefully implement soon.
Yeah. Time versus money. Like, we're all business owners. Like, how much money does it cost, and how much of a difference is it going to make? And bottom line is, like, you got to increase users. You can't just spend money to the end of time to make me and Ryan happy and the other 6,000 people. You got to grow the thing too. So I understand that.
Cory, how crucial would you say Mobile Tech RX is to your company now?
Oh, now, dude, like
you just said, take it away.
I'd give up half of my tools. I'd give up half of my physical metal tools if I had to keep if I could keep Mobile Tech RX. Like, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could go back to like. Go ahead.
If Mobile Tech RX tomorrow said that they were going to be shutting down this app like at the end of the week and it was going to be gone, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't even know what to do. I would fucking freak out.
Yeah, I'd offer.
That's how crucial it is.
Can I help keep you open if I paid a little extra? Seriously, and that, the guys that use Mobile Tech RX, 95% of them probably feel the same way. There's a few that are frustrated with it, I'm sure. But I guess we're really talking to the guys outside of the PDR industry. I feel like Mobile Tech RX pretty much captured the PDR industry. If you're a professional business in paintless dent repair, granted, there's probably 10,000 more techs out there, but they also don't have an LED light that they're using to fix dents. So maybe that first and then Mobile Tech RX. But if you're a professional business, like, you're using Mobile Tech RX for sure. And so now you got to expand into other frontiers. And that's kind of what we're here talking about. So detailers, chip guys, wheel guys, we gave you the whole list of services. If you're wanting to be more organized and more professional, like, Ryan and I fully recommend this stuff. You talked about implementing more and more things. I actually got a call from MobileTech RX last week about the marketplace. And so they reached out to me and this girl, I can't remember the girl's name. I probably should have written
Laura.
it down. Laura. Yeah, that was her. Super nice lady. Just wanted to ask me a couple questions. You know, we've seen in the last update, I've seen the marketplace in there, and I kind of know what it is, but maybe if you want to talk about what the intention is with that.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
It goes in line with, again, we're going to beat that dead horse, but vertical or service diversity, right? We have the PDR market essentially captured, if you will.
Yeah.
In 2020 we got acquired, or 2021 we got acquired by Repairify. Repairify has many branches in the auto recon space. We're now actually affiliated with AMT. Recon Pro used to be our biggest competitor. They're now in-house, Repairify, and our sister company. So with AMT and MobileTech RX, we have.
Wait, hold on. Can you repeat that? I missed that. Recon Pro, you said?
AMT and Recon Pro. Recon Pro is now our sister software. They're actually in-house with Repairify as well. So our network's grown. And now within Repairify alone, we're looking at maybe 15,000 technicians all across the nation, Canada, you name it. The marketplace is meant just to connect our network. We have all these technicians. Why not help them work together? And you've seen some Easter eggs in the app. If you download the app, you have that marketplace there. It's kind of just been sitting there, and everybody's like, oh, what is this? What's going on here? Well, the marketplace, we call it repair on demand. So what that is let's say there's a detailer. We have detailers using the app. They're detailing a vehicle. There's a dent on the vehicle. This detailer can't fix a dent. He can quote it out using MobileTech RX. So we're going to give him the ability to quote out a dent using MobileTech RX, and then from there, be able to post it into the marketplace. And if you're in that general vicinity, based on geography, you can pick up said lead. So now MobileTech RX is actually going to be able to feed you clients. We also have partnerships with a lot of bigger wholesale accounts that might not have all the vendors or the manpower to get fleets done. They'll be able to post jobs to the marketplace. And if you are in that vicinity, in that radius, you'll see it pop up in your marketplace and their market leads, and you can pick up that lead. So it's just a way to connect vendors to each other, or connect wholesale businesses to vendors in our network, and provide jobs, right? All we want to do is connect people to jobs. That is the future of MobileTech RX.
That's awesome.
Are you going to compete with me in marketing in Sacramento?
Compete?
Yeah. How are you going to get these jobs? Are these customers that I would have got anyways?
No.
Do I need to be mad at MobileTech RX now?
No. We're not poaching anybody's customers. So these are overflow jobs, right? So oftentimes there's maybe an auction or a wholesale fleet that has X amounts, call it 100 vehicles, 300 vehicles that need done by a specific time. Their vendors can't get to all of them in time. The overflow jobs right now aren't being serviced. They're having to wait in line. For every minute that vehicle is waiting in the back of a dealership not being serviced, you're hurting the dealership's profit, right? Nobody getting to that vehicle. So for all the overflow jobs, those are going to be the ones that are going to be put into the marketplace. Right now, we're not really talking vendor to vendor, or it's more overflow from our network with these wholesale accounts, which you'd be surprised how much overflow work there is that just can't be touched because the manpower isn't there, or they don't have the connections. We've got the reason why this idea came to be is wholesale accounts or people that were in our network will call us saying, man, I have X amount of jobs done. My vendors are booked out. Do you have anybody in this vicinity that can help us? So we'd have to do it manually and look through our network and then kind of manually connect them to. Now we're just going to be more of an automated process. So we're definitely feeding overflow jobs to anybody that's willing to take them, which is why Laura called. Right now what we're doing is we're kind of getting hand raisers. Where before we even everything set in stone, we just want to know what people think of this idea, right? This is a huge idea that we want to do. So right now we're kind of just seeing what the traction would be, and by no means is everything set in stone. We don't know how we're going to run it through our system, the process, what it looks like. We just want to see if there's a viable market strategy, or if there's a viable market or interest in that idea. If there is, then we're going to act upon it, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still on the development strategy side of things.
Nice. I raised my hand. Just FYI for anybody who was curious. That's interesting. So if you service some large wholesale accounts, make sure you're caught up. I would say, for sure, which you should be anyways. But if you're not, I mean, if you are and you're always looking for other business, that's interesting. I actually was thinking, I didn't even think that. I thought completely it was like retail, situations, but it's mostly wholesale, because Repairify does what? Like, what does Repairify as a parent company do exactly?
So pretty much what they're known for is a company called Aztec. So they do calibration. So they're very much a calibration company. And then Repair on Demand consists of Mobile-Tech RX, Recon Pro or AMT, and then OGI, which would be One Guard inspections. So Repair on Demand is more of a network, and it's a subset of Repairify. Repairify is a whole branch of specifically auto recon technology under Repairify. But they're most well known for Aztec, their Aztec device, which is calibration scanning.
Nice. Where do you see the future of Mobile-Tech RX going?
Like I said, we want to build an actual ecosystem or a marketplace. We obviously want to grow the software, right? We want to make the software more sticky, more powerful, and add features that benefit our user base. But we want to do more than that. We want to connect vendors to vendors, right? We want to make it very easy for a PDR tech to link up with a glass chip repair if he needs one, or a PPF or vinyl wrapper, and have our network actually talk to each other and build an actual marketplace inside Repair on Demand. I keep saying Mobile-Tech RX, guys, keep in mind that we are required. So the marketplace is actually Repair on Demand. That's going to consist of multiple entities, right? That's going to consist of Mobile-Tech RX users and Recon Pro users that can now work together, right? So we want to just be the connection between vendors and jobs. That's
awesome. And if you mentioned Matt Moore earlier, I'll bring him back up. Shout out to Matt Moore. I know he's listening. He is a fan, as am I, of bringing in someone as a contractor to do this additional service for you, and then if it works through your customer base, bring it in-house yourself. So the fact that we keep talking about how Mobile-Tech RX can do all these different things, hopefully down the road it can actually help find that vendor for you, who you know is at least somewhat professional because he's using Mobile-Tech RX, and kind of connect the two of you. And then if it works, you can bring that stuff in-house and stop using that other vendor. That's pretty cool. I did not know that was the goal, but
yeah, as a former business consultant, one of the hardest things for any business is not finding help, it's finding quality help. Finding employees that are going to do great work and stay with you is one of the hardest things that a business owner can do. It's kind of like finding a relationship again, like you're trying to find a marriage every single time you find a new employee. With Mobile-Tech RX, we want to help it make that easier, help connect you to quality vendors, right? Because these vendors will go through a screening process. We're going to make sure that they're reliable, that they have a history of great work, haven't gotten too many complaints, right? So everybody in our vendor and our Repair on Demand network is going to be a quality technician. That'll help you make a connection with said quality technician. And like you said, maybe keep them around as a sub, see what kind of work you do, or use it to test the waters in a new service.
What's do you guys have any sort of free trial or anything going on right now for those people that want to try Mobile-Tech RX for a little bit of time? And if they do sign up for that like free trial area, is there any sort of support to help them connect it to QuickBooks and make it so that like Friday they decide to add it, and then by like Monday or Tuesday they actually look professional and not even dumber because they don't know how to use this thing? Is there like, what's the process for that?
Yeah, great question. So we do offer 5-day free trials. Now, one thing that we offer that our team will reach out to them. If they don't reach out to us, Laura, we have a couple reps that I can name by name that are going to reach out to them when they start their free trial and urge them to schedule a one-on-one walkthrough. These are free personal walkthroughs. Now, what we do is we actually jump on a Zoom call or a Google Meet, whatever they prefer, with the client. That way they can see us face-to-face, see that we're real people behind the software. And we actually show them how to use the app, how to get it set up, and pretty much get them set up for success. That way, what we found is the biggest barrier of entry when I first started Mobile-Tech RX was the resistance to technology. it's hard to learn new software, especially for PDR techs. I mean, you guys, man, like some of you guys just don't like technology, and so
you're talking to a younger generation on this podcast, but there's a lot of guys out there nodding their head for sure.
There's a lot that just are hesitant because they think it's more intimidating than it actually is. Once they sit down with Laura or Derek or one of our great account executives, they come out of that feeling refreshed, like, wow, that wasn't so bad. They're 30-minute walkthroughs, so we're not going to take a lot of your time, but we can if you want to. There's some people that do need an hour and a half because they want to go over it. We've even literally walked people through a hail estimate while they're doing a hail estimate to make them feel comfortable, make sure you're doing it correctly the first time. Our customer service is top tier, so we offer one-on-one walkthroughs, and we have our support team, which consists of great support reps that are there to answer your phone call or question at any time. What we can offer, if anybody signs up and they mention to our account executive on the call, or they email support@MobileTechRx, hey, I signed up after watching Masters of Recon, we'll waive their second month. So they pay their first month and we'll waive their second month, no matter what service no matter what package they're on. Getting started package all the way up to our pro package. If they say that they came through Masters of Recon, we'll go ahead and waive the second month.
I didn't even know that, dude.
That's a deal.
We're special, Ryan. We're special.
Awesome,
I didn't even know this.
I wish I didn't even have one.
You guys are putting the same message. Yeah, you guys, what you guys are trying to do is something that we're trying to do internally. So our goals line up, right? We want people to make more money, to broaden their horizons, to be much more than a PDR tech, right? And that message we're going to carry through and through. And anybody that helps spread that message, will definitely make sure that we'll work with them, right? So if any glass detailer, PDR tech, I doubt it's going to be a PDR tech that hasn't used MobileTechRx, but anybody listening to this podcast right now, sign up for your 5-day free trial and let us know you signed up through Masters of Recon, and we will definitely waive your second month. Once you use this offer for 60 days, you might as well,
you're stuck. You're stuck. It's
stuck. Yeah.
Don't do heroin for 60 days or MobileTechRx unless you want to do it forever. I don't know what to say. Well, that's cool. I didn't even know that. So thanks for doing that. That's really cool. Hopefully you guys take advantage of that, and tell them that you came from here so that we can know how many people came from here. So how many people are listening and actually following through with what we're talking about. That'd be awesome for me to know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just talking into space. You never know. You got anything else, Alex, before we wrap up? We're going to end it on that. But if you got anything that we didn't ask you that you really wanted to get in there, or Ryan, if you got something to finish with.
One thing I just wanted to mention, I know you mentioned Glasswood. That's probably going to release before this episode.
It is before this episode. Yep. Okay. It's already out by the time they listen to this.
If anybody listens to the Glasswood podcast and is now listening to this one, if you are a paying MobileTechRx user, we actually get you a free Glasswood certification course. That course will be free of charge, and it's pretty comprehensive. I made my entire team take it, and I'm pretty sure they can fix my rock chip now if I had one.
Yeah.
It's a very thorough course. Yeah. Not only will you get that course, you will also get a business course as well. That'll teach you everything from marketing your business, making business cards, setting up an LLC, insurance, you name it. All that will come free once you pay your first MobileTechRx bill. So again, that's just to help emphasize service diversity. So even if you're a detailer coming to MobileTechRx, you're going to have a free gateway into learning rock chip repair. I know you guys took the course also, and I know you guys are thinking of dabbling into glass. We want all our users to experience that as well.
Yeah, I think that podcast came out in September. So if you haven't listened, they did mention that you get the free course. I believe if you bought the kit, a certain level of kit. But if you haven't listened to that podcast, go listen to it. But if you're listening to this one, if you sign up for MobileTechRx, and then you can get the free course and the business course too. So definitely something to think about. And again, all integrated inside the app. And honestly, like that's a huge part of the reason why I would consider adding it, because I'm like, it's already there. I just click 2 more buttons and I can make an extra $75 on a car. And it takes me they literally said 5 minutes, and you train for, So anyways, go listen to that podcast. thank you for mentioning that as well, Alex. You're a wealth of knowledge, obviously, like your hand that you've had in the small business marketing. I can see the transition from when you came in 2019 to where Mobile Tech RX is today. There is a stark difference. And so we're just going to say all of that was you.
Hey, I'll take it.
So thanks for coming on to share knowledge with us. Another great podcast, and thanks for listening, guys.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yo.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Masters of Recon podcast. If you got any value from the show, then please subscribe and share the show to your favorite social media platform.